Hello, my Wellish sisters. I am so excited for today's episode. I am doing something that has never been done before on Wellish. I have pulled together 5 different conversations from 5 different previous Wellish interviews that illustrate that transformation is taken in small, everyday, very normal steps, but they also, of course, tell you exactly the things that we need to hear in order to live more in alignment with our highest self, with our most aligned self. Transformation is always getting talked about like it's this goal, like it's this destination, like it's a threshold that you're gonna eventually cross, but we know that that's not how it really works, that it takes the small everyday moments that will actually make us feel transformed. And doing that over time, when we look back and we see it, we can see this big, beautiful transformation, but it is those everyday normal things that make us feel that way. But the benefit of listening to these really impactful people is you get really intense perspective shifts that allow you to actually feel like it in your everyday life. And when I went back through the Wellish conversations that we've had with our different guests, I noticed that everybody has that same idea at the heart of what they're talking about when the conversation is centered around becoming your highest self. So I wanted to bring those together and give you guys each of their pieces of advice so you can take that with you into your week. Take it with you into your weekend. What am I talking about? I'm talking like it's Monday. It's not, it's Thursday. Thank God, Friday Eve. Woo! Our first piece of advice comes from Liz Landon. She's got her master's in education. She's a certified hypnotist and she's a law of attraction coach. And what she talks about is the perspective shift that we need to have when we feel the intense feelings that come from transformation or that come with transformation. A lot of the time, the things that are wrong in our life, we feel like a victim of. We feel like they define us, we identify with them, and she gives us a really powerful perspective shift to look at this a little different and utilize it to our advantage.
We make our own perceptions reality. So we're
Right.
often I hear people say like, "Oh, I'm so traumatized. That's a trauma. That's a trigger." Already you're taking something that's neutral and we're placing a label on it.
Yes.
And that's where the what if game comes in. What if it's not trauma? What if it's something part of maybe our soul contract, let's say? What if it's something that our body is signaling to us from the visceral and cellular level that, hey, you have to feel and heal. You have something here that
Wow.
needs to
Yeah.
be softened and soothed. So what if it's not a trauma, but an invitation?
Okay, way to
Okay.
reframe that. That's so smart. This next piece of advice is from our conversation with meditation master Kira Leskew. I pulled this one because I thought it was really interesting how she talks about transforming brain chaos into calm and clarity, and how the crazy shitstorm that's happening up in our mind can be relaxed dependent on how we treat our body and the way that building resilience so that we can be resilient in our everyday life really makes an impact in allowing us to transform into the highest versions of ourselves. Because I feel like a lot of the time when we think of the word resilience, we think of big, catastrophic, shitty things happening in our life. But the truth is, becoming our highest self and confidence is really just reoccurring resilience, is really just you being resilient over and over and over again throughout your day, and how quickly you can return your body back to neutral when it experiences an emotion strike. So listen to this one.
It's about optimizing and training your nervous system, which really takes very little time to do compared to the huge benefits you get as an outcome to be, first of all, be resilient and to recover from the physiological responses, the physical chemicals that your body's putting that cause that. And then as you become better and better at that, you actually become resilient to stress if you continue the practices. So you can put in more time, but not be in that stress mode. So the time that you're putting in is highly efficient And it's usually way more effective as well, because you're bringing way more of your mental and emotional abilities to whatever it is you're doing. You're bringing at the high end of what your potential is, rather than, a lower gas tank, a partially emptied or maybe almost totally emptied gas tank
Sure.
to that.
This next piece of advice is so real and so relatable and so useful. It comes from mindset coach Sharon Banyas Heftes, and she gets really vulnerable about the low period in her life, what she was feeling, and it's so relatable to the chaos that we all get crushed by when we just want so badly to be this higher version of us, when we want so badly to be a different us, the new us. We don't like the current us. It just so illustrates what that feels like in a very real way. And then she goes into exactly what she did in order to transform it. And it is a lot more accessible and realistic than you would believe. And I love that she doesn't word this in just like your cliche way. She tells you to keep it real. And I love that about her. This is so good.
I was like 30 and married, and my biological clock was ticking. And then I started with my journey in motherhood, and that was like the best thing. Suddenly I was like, meaning, and I ran with it, and I was doing everything. And it was just like, okay, great, I got this too. And there's new meaning and new passion, but I was worn out. I was stretched so thin, and there was no room for me at all. And nothing was mine anymore. My sleep wasn't mine. My nights weren't mine. My thoughts weren't mine. My schedule, my body, didn't feel or look like it did. Or I understood that the biggest part that was missing from that gave me all these things was self-love, is basically giving yourself that space and practicing it, being nice to me, exactly like how I said, like, just be nice to you. So exactly like with the baby steps and anywhere you're going to say, so I can't see the positive. Okay, don't see the positive. Be nice. What can you see? What is a little bit better than what was yesterday? And if it doesn't work out, try again. I when I started on my journey with meditation, it was like, my brain is all over. Okay, I can't do this in years. I can't do this. And I know I need to do meditation, and I need it. Need. So I changed it. I changed need to want. For me, that was a big change.
Okay.
I don't need to. I just want to. I don't have to. A lot of times I have to do this, and I have to do this, and I have to do this.
Absolutely.
I want to do this. And that's also you being nice to yourself, because you're setting yourself up to accept the things that you want to do. And I just keep putting that little girl in front of me and saying, like, how would I talk to her? Because us being mean to ourselves, and us being hard on ourselves, and us stressing ourselves out, and us not listening to our inner voice, and us not listening to our intuition, I know that's what leads to all these diseases.
Yeah.
And it's just a very, very crucial thing in our life that we're not taught.
I
And we
agree.
don't know how to do. And if we just take it with those baby steps, and take it by being nice to ourselves, and just know that it's like we got to fail to success. We need these failures. We need bad things to happen to us to understand how strong we are, to understand how great we are, to understand how many lessons are out there for us to learn, to understand, like, wow, like, I got this.
Yes.
I got life. I got, I could do anything.
Our next piece of advice comes from someone whose credibility list is so long, I'm not even going to try to remember everything that she has accomplished. I'm going to read it to you right off of my laptop. Heidi Smith is a best-selling author, transformative guide, speaker, and Accelerated Evolution Academy master coach and trainer. She is incredible. She's been through a lot. She's experienced extreme adversity. It's definitely a full episode worth listening to. She dealt with substance abuse issues and anger issues and having to overcome these intense emotions. And the best way she has been able to do this is by recognizing and seeing what our emotions are trying to tell us and listening to that inner wisdom that is given to us through our emotion. She believes that our emotions are a message from our highest self. So this clip is her talking us through that.
Making friends with a boogeyman. Like
Yeah.
this is the story of my life, because the messages I heard, because I'll take responsibility for this. The messages I heard growing up, it's not okay to have intense feelings. It's not okay to put your emotions on display. It's not okay to express your emotions. You will shut that shit down now. You will keep it to yourself. You will push it in your body and do whatever it takes to, keep a brave face and look good and, act proper. Right. Well, that takes a toll on you, right? This, for me, it showed up with addiction and drugs because I hated the way that I felt. I hated myself and all of those things, and I wasn't expressing any of it. So it like, for me, it's physical pain. Like I can feel in my body, one of the biggest issues of my life growing up, I talk about in the book. And that was just pain in my chest all the time. And then when I started exploring what's going on in there with the support of a very talented, gifted couple of coaches, which I talk about in the book, it's like I went into the darkness and I experienced the fear and the anger that was in there. And then I was able to let it go because I understood why it was there, because the things that happened to me, of course I would be angry. Like any normal human being would be angry, but I didn't get the chance to express it the way that I needed to. And it's so you find a place to express the anger safely, and then you learn, anger is a healthy thing. Anger tells us that if something is wrong. Anger tells us that a boundary has been crossed, and it gives us all this energy so that we can do something different. If somebody is threatening us physically, anger is a gift because it gives us the strength to protect ourselves. We need these things.
Yeah.
The problem is when we suppress these things and we don't let it out, then it builds up. And it can become depression, and it can become addiction. It's just, it's like the child that isn't getting attention, and it keeps acting out more and more and more until you pay attention to the child or the puppy or the other human being, because we are going to start acting weird when the anger, we're trying to hold it all in, and it comes out sideways. Like you'll be cranky at work, or you'll be mean to your husband, or you'll act inappropriately in the grocery store because, the cashier did something wrong. Like that anger is got to come out somewhere. So why don't, the most powerful thing I can do is I can choose when I'm going to let the anger out. So that, again, I'm the master of the anger. The anger is not the master of me.
Last but not least, my favorite interview of all time, so much so that I literally, instead of doing this compilation episode, almost just reposted my entire interview with him. Maybe that'll come at a later date because I just absolutely am obsessed with it. I think about it constantly still to this day, and have used so many of his teachings that I learned in that interview in my everyday life to this day. It is with Zen Buddhist teacher and Jungian psychotherapist Koshin Paley Ellison. I was absolutely obsessed with him. He gave so much great insight. The whole episode is just so worth listening to. But I pulled a clip from his interview that we talked about, first of all, the story that we are telling ourselves inside of our head, because so much of the time that is what we're doing. We're taking these neutral events and applying our own meaning and perspective onto them and making our own house of misery, as he says. And then he goes into the four nobilities, which come from a Buddhist story that helps us live more in alignment with our best self. So, absolutely so excited to share this one with you guys. Here you go.
I often am encouraging myself and my students to become dumb and dumber. Just like, don't have to be so smart about it, just to be open and curious and foolish, and because we're always feeling these things.
Yes.
And they're irrational and kooky. But I think that if we hold them too tight, they get very kooky and very crazy. And then we could really then start ruminating and thinking that that thought is true. And what I love about it, is our friend Jerry Colonna, and he, taught us this strategy, and it was genius, just to like, what's the story you're telling yourself? And is that really true? And somehow even just saying, well, the story I'm telling myself is you're leaving me is already like creates this sweet distance. And you're like, in perspective, like, all right, that's the story I'm telling myself, as opposed to like what's real. The last part of this amazing teaching by the historical Buddha. So the historical Buddha was, it's like, I love to share that his life, he was just like a person, like, you or me, and was trying a bunch of things out because he realized, he wanted to see more clearly in his life and wanted to be free. And didn't know how to do it. So he tried some apps, and he tried, listened to some podcasts and read some books. And, he actually did try a lot of different things. And then eventually he's like, I need to like sit and face my fear, because my fear is maybe the root cause of my suffering.
Okay.
And that my fear is dragging me around to, like, when I feel uncomfortable, I try something else. So what about if I was uncomfortable and just learned to stay there and not move away from it? And so he did that. And what he saw, he, recited this short poem when he woke up. And what he woke up to was, he said, "O house builder, thou art seen at last. The ridgepole is shattered. Nevermore will you build a house of sorrow." So what he saw was that he was creating his own house of sorrow. It's like he was creating the story of like, oh, poor me, or oh, things don't work out for me, or things do work out for me. Like all those like conclusions that we're obsessed with. And how we kind of put more and more giant sticky notes on ourselves.
Yeah.
And I'm a loser, I'm terrible, I'm not worthy. There's such a long list. That we all, and we all have our favorite go-to ones, the favorite ones that make us feel like shit, And so he saw that. He's like, oh, I'm responsible for that. And so the Eightfold Path comes from what he realized. His first teaching was that there are these four nobilities. And as a little boy, there was this thing called like Encyclopedia Britannica, which was like these big volumes when people used to read books. Remember books? And I remember reading about the Four Noble Truths, and the first of the nobilities that there is struggle in life, that there is struggle. And I remember reading that like, wow, like I felt like I was being let in on this big secret. Like, I felt that, I grew up in a home where there was not a lot of transparency about what was actually happening.
Oh, okay.
And kind of pretending things were okay when they were not okay.
Sure.
And so someone saying like there's struggle and suffering in life, and that's noble to say that and to see it. It's like, whoa,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
And the second one is that the second nobility is that we grasp, we're like, give me that.
Mhm.
And, or we get caught in our resentments,
Yeah.
or we get caught in the idea that we're alone. So those are the three kind of sometimes called the three giants or the three poisons. And there's a nobility just to realize like, oh yeah, I'm caught by those things. Those
Mhm.
are part of life.
Mhm.
And the third nobility is that we can change.
Shock. Can you believe it? Thank God.
Well, I think that many of us forget that, right?
Completely. Completely. This is how I'm stuck forever. So gotta work
Yeah,
through
it's
it.
so painful. It's so painful, right?
Yeah.
So painful.
Mhm.
And so the third one is sort of like the good news. It's like there's a planting the flag, like change is actually, you can do that. But
Yeah.
you have to go through the suffering. You
Mhm.
can't jump over it.
Mhm.
And the fourth nobility is that there's this path, this eightfold path, which is, really the practices of concentration, of meditation, of right speech, and all the different ways that we can actually pay attention and actually learn how to be in deeper relationship with reality, like how it is right now, where you are in your life, in the supermarket, at the ATM, wherever you are, and there's a different way to approach it.
Every single guest that I have just shared with you guys on this episode has lived their way into transforming into their highest selves. They did not just magically appear there. They did not magically turn into this knowledgeable being that you just heard them be. They took steps there through their own hardship and through their own pain in order to get to that version of themselves. And it didn't come through them chasing that highest version, desperately needing and wanting to have that. It came from them allowing it to prosper. It came from them taking inventory of all of the things that they knew, gathering new insights, being curious about themselves, and then allowing themselves to naturally transform over time. Transformation is not about force. It's not about effort. It shouldn't feel like you're efforting in order to transform. It's not about climbing this like giant mountain of excellence. And once you get to the top, then you're finally going to have made it and you're finally going to be enough and everything's going to be good and happy and great in the world. It's learning how to breathe differently on that climb up the mountain. It's learning how to view things differently. It's learning how to gain a new perspective on how you view yourself and how you view your life and how you show up in your life. It's noticing who you're becoming when life demands your courage, when life kicks you in the ass and you've got a wave of emotions and you have to trust yourself in order to get through whatever it is you got to get through. It's when it demands your self compassion and your kindness and your softness. It's noticing at all of those periods how you could show up as your most aligned self and noticing how much you've already transformed from past versions of yourself and being proud of yourself for that and considering that a win. Those are the moments that make you feel like your transformation holds so much meaning because you can feel so much pride in yourself because you literally can see how much you have changed and it's all for your own good and you did it all for your greater good and you can just feel so proud of yourself and like you take care of yourself for that. Like you have your own back for having done that. Okay, I love you guys immensely. I hope you enjoyed this little compilation episode. I'm definitely thinking that there's going to be more like this in the future. Maybe we can do like a good moments from all of the month's interviews for like a wrap up of the month and like collect those little clips. I don't know. I'm in the shitstorm of my mind right now thinking of all of the ideas. So let me know if you have any too. If you would like that, that would be cool. Let me know in the comments. Okay, I love you so much. I will talk to you guys on Monday. Bye.